Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Level 1 Adventuring. Happy to have all of our familiar faces here as I put us in performance mode. I am always, as always, am your host and dungeon master, the Wolfe Scott. If you're new to the channel here today, what do we do? What is Level 1 Adventuring? We are a role-playing game, RPG and TTRPG tabletop stream, so we run everything from big group games that you're probably familiar with, like Dungeons and Dragons. We also run smaller, more intimate, like solo RPGs, such as Tales of the Burned Stones and Firelights. And on occasion, we also do some digital RPGs. We have Celasta running, soon to be Baldur's Gate 3. Tons of stuff to see. We hope you stick around. If you're interested in upcoming content or any of our previous series, check us out on YouTube. Nar says, I think I'm wearing that exact same shirt right now, if not nearly identical. This is a pretty throwback shirt for me. I was sort of routing through the laundry for an easy wear today. So glad to see there's some Star Wars solidarity up in the chat. Yeah, check us out on all the other socials. Our YouTube is where we post everything. So if you want to listen back to anything we talk about today or any of our playthroughs, that's where you're going to go. Nar says, oh wait, no, mine has a TIE fighter on it. Okay, yeah. You know, I mean Empire. We got some Empire stuff going on. We have that between us. And then also the Discord. The Discord is where we meme, where we chat, where we talk about games we have played, will play, and also will be a D&D 5e play-by-post space very soon. So we hope to see you there. Speaking of D&D 5e, we're going to be talking about that today. It's been a while since I've done a 5e sort of design-based stream, and I kind of wanted to put that back into our rotation of things that we talk about, because it is something that I really enjoy. I am the dungeon master of pretty much every game that I'm in with my friend groups, and especially the game that we run here on stream. Which is the Shards of Chaos, which usually runs Wednesdays, which is tonight, but because we do not have the head count, I'm doing a little something on my own. I really liked this idea that I saw. There's a couple iterations of it floating around, but there's so many different philosophies on how to build dungeons, and I've talked about some in previous episodes, and I'm sure I'll mention some of those principles and tenets coming up again here. But I'm always looking for new ways to kind of like build inspiration or like help me put things together, throw things together when designing adventure spaces, whether it be for just my own personal use or to hopefully one day, you know, maybe put out there for the world to see and play in themselves. And I saw an interesting sort of thread about designing a D&D dungeon via tarot cards, right? And for any of you who know me kind of personally, I am a tarot amateur enthusiast. I enjoy a bunch of different magical practice based things, a lot of divination based things. I have a couple decks, and I also have the like official D&D branded tarot deck, which is like partially open right now. Hopefully you can like, because I'm trying to keep it close by so we can use it very easily. This was actually gifted to me by fellow D&D and tarot enthusiast on the stream, Sydney, who plays Viola. Actually, very funny. Last Christmas, when we were exchanging friend presents, we both gifted each other the official D&D tarot cards, which is absolutely hilarious. So we each have this set bought for us by each other. So I thought it would be fun to maybe try and see if we can build a dungeon using some of these principles that we're going to be talking about that I found online, as well as using the D&D tarot card deck itself, because it actually has some sort of guidelines, some ideas to help you use the tarot that they've created to help with dungeon design. So it's kind of going to be an amalgamation of different ideas. We'll see where it lands. You know, this is kind of like a first experiment with this idea. I haven't tried this before, but I think it would just be an interesting way to approach dungeon building, and it might help sort of take some of the mental load right off of the front end work. You're gonna have to do a lot of work on the end, right? Mochi! It's been so long since we've seen you. It's so happy to have you. Yeah, wow, it's been so long since someone's changed beans, too. Whoa. Mochi coming in strong after a while away. Just came in, fed beans, changed beans. That's actually a pretty good beans. Little tiger stripe beans with, like, the angry eyebrows. I dig that. Also, Mochi, you've not been here for a while. You're gonna be excited to know that Bean should be able to talk to you now. We have a little Bean spot, which we'll chat with people. You can talk to them. It's pretty fun. Oh, that reminds me. Shout out to StreamLabs, StreamSpell, our AI Twitch bot companion. All of those links are down below in the description. If you use any of them to help upgrade your own stream, we get, a little kickback, and that's always helpful for us as well, so thank you. And also thank you to Lo-Fi Hip Hop Girl, who is providing some very chill beats for us tonight. So, the first thing I wanted to do, Nar says Beans now has advantage on intimidation checks. Yeah, with those furrowed eyebrows, constant advantage. The first thing that I wanted to do was maybe talk a little bit about this tarot-based system. Yeah, there's Nar talking to Beans. Thanks for the compliment. I can be a little scary when I'm all powered up. Yeah, Mochi's helping Beans get powered up with those channel points. Let's talk a little bit about the principles we're going to be using to help design this dungeon via the tarot. This little, oh, and I should probably put on the solo stream. Get a look at my desktop. These are supposed to look like grids, but I guess we're kind of too far away for the grids to show up. Maybe once we actually start typing some text into those grids, then we'll get a better idea of what we're working with. But in terms of the text, yes, feed the beans. Feed the beans. Beans must get strong. Beans must be very, very strong. He says, thank you for feeding me that meat. You rock. Of course Mochi rocks. Beans, you remember Moch. We're gonna go to my little Adventure Crafting 101 tab here, where I have a bunch of different, dungeon design principles that I've saved from many different content creators who I appreciate and enjoy. But we are mostly going to be focusing on this one right here, the tarot-based dungeon design. Now, I do have the link that I can share with people. I'm going to share it on the Discord. But it contains some naughty words, which I don't know are like, chill to have on Twitch. So I'm gonna white it out for now, and I will share it, later. But the principle is thus, right? So basically, this is, I should state too in advance, that this, although you could probably use it and scale down to make smaller dungeons, the original intent of this was, I think, to design a much larger dungeon, like kind of like a mega dungeon, kind of like old school D&D. So we may or may not fill every room. We're not going to fill every room this session, but we're to at least get like the math down and wrap our heads around what we're trying to do. I think it's important to read this section. Nar says, I wonder if the tarot card deck might be used for solo play as well. Listen, there are full-on games. There is actually a solo game, an indie game, that I saw posted on TikTok that uses tarot as one of the primary solo play components. I have to remember the name of it. It kind of has like this esoteric name, like Anamnesis or Emanesis or something like that. I have to look it up, but if I can find it and we get through some of the other playthroughs that we're running, I think it'd be a really fun thing to play through. So definitely that's logged in the back of my mind for something to eventually play. But in terms of the 5e dungeon design document we're playing with, so it says there are 45 rooms in your dungeon. All right, adjacent cards that are both facing the same direction, both up or down, are connected. So what they mean by this, which is, I wish I had like a desk cam, because it might help for certain visuals, but I can post pictures later. So if you're familiar with like tarot in general, we can see some of these cards. So these beautiful D&D 5e cards, right? You're gonna be familiar with the idea that when you pull cards for a spread, right, in a tarot deck, or a tarot divination reading. Sometimes you'll pull the cards, they'll be face up. Sometimes they'll be reverse, inverted. And depending on how you read and your mentality behind this, because there's a million different ways that you can conceptualize or think about tarot and write, these will mean different things, right? If it is upright or reversed, it will affect the meaning of the reading in a certain way. So what this is essentially saying is, we're going to be laying out cards kind of side by side, and that is going to help guide the design of the dungeon. If the cards are both right side up when we pull them, think of the cards as individual rooms of the dungeon, right? If they are both the same way, that means they are connected by some means. And if they are opposite to each other, they are not connected, right? Or at least not initially. We'll keep reading to go on to that. But if once again they're both upside down, then they're connected. So you kind of get how some rooms are going to be maybe isolated, maybe continuous, all that stuff. It continues. Completely isolated cards are hidden behind secret doors. You may choose where the entrances to these rooms are. So this will help us if we kind of build ourselves into a hole, right? It helps us maneuver out of that dead end. The rooms... so once again, every card is a room once we do this layout. It says rooms represented by the cups suit are empty or contain non-functional dungeon-appropriate decor. So if you're familiar with, once again, tarot, there are different suits of the cards. Cups, wands, swords, pentacles, right? Those are like the 4 main suits. So this is pretty much telling you, depending on what suit you pull for a card, it is going to influence the things that are inside of that room, right? And just, once again, help offloading some work in your brain space for like what ends up in the dungeon itself. Starting with queens, kings, knights, and aces, interpret the rest of the rooms according to the following rules for the number and the suit. So you can see it gives you all the numbers here and the suits here. So for example, and then you would combine these. So what did I just pull here? The one thing I will say about the D&D tarot deck itself, despite the fact that the art is just stunning, just gorgeous, I don't think I would use it as like a primary divination deck in and of itself, because there is, as far as I'm understanding it in the little time that I've spent looking at it right here, there is virtually no signifier of like what the suit is on the card. It'll say like 2, 3, 4, it lets you know the number, but there's no like symbol that helps designate cups or wands or, any of that. So it makes interpreting them on the fly kind of difficult. It kind of necessitates your use of the guidebook unless you are incredibly intimate with just the art itself, which I mean is kind of hard to do because the art is not your traditional like Rider-Waite art. It is like specific to D&D itself. So I will say I do not think it is the most beginner-friendly divination tool, and we definitely are going to have to be referencing the art book as we use these tools. But hey, a small price to pay for an interesting idea, I'd say. So basically what this is telling you is like, let's say for example, let me just pull one until I think, let's say this one. I don't know if this is wands, the 4 of wands, because once again, it just says 4 on it, right? There's no other designation on it, but there's a red dragon on it. Red dragons breathe fire. Wands in a majority of tarot mentality is the fire suit, right? So let's pretend for a second that this red dragon 4 is the 4 of wands, right? So then we would like look at this little chart and we would say, okay, so 4 means something is hidden, and wands means there's a person and or a monster, right? So now you can kind of see what would be in that room. There is a person or a monster who is hidden, right? And that will fill in that space for the room that we're designing. Now, the reason why I have these little boxes set up, which once again might be kind of hard to see on your screen because I can't increase the size of the grids until I put some text in there, is They're divided into 9 chunks, right? 3x3 grids. If you stack 5 on them of them on top, right, of each other, you get 45, right? Which is the number of rooms we're trying to create with the tarot cards to make this dungeon. There is also another D&D design tool that I've been playing with a lot lately, called the 9-room dungeon path. This is by the dreamingdragonslayer.com. I can share that link in the description and on the Discord as well. But essentially, it outlines sort of 9, well, technically 10. Hey, sub goal reached! Thank you so much. I did not see a little a sub notification pop up on my screen, but I appreciate you so much for helping us out with that. Thank you. They give you sort of 10 guidelines, more or less, for things that you might encounter in a dungeon room by room, right? So we can take these 9 sort of overall dungeon principles. To give you a slight spoiler, I actually used this 9-room dungeon path idea to design the Forsaken Grotto, I should say, the dungeon that my players are currently adventuring in our campaign. So this entire arc of the story you're seeing, where like they've met Creep and they're trying to find the magical artifact that like the Forsaken Wizard stole, that entire dungeon was designed using this like 9-room dungeon principle, right? So we're going to be using that. We're going to be throwing that on top of the tarot thing, and then we're just going to see where it lands. It's, like I said, it's going to be an experiment. In my mind, it works well, but we're not going to know until we're there. But that is half of the fun. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of these gorgeous cards, and I'm just going to quickly shuffle them up, and I'm going to invert some purposefully to kind of ensure that we're going to get a little bit of a randomization in terms of what we see. Now, I'm also going to be using another tool for dungeon generation that I'm a very big fan of, and I've used on this channel before. My PDF of Dangerous Destinations by Nord Games, I want to say is the writer. Nord Games, yes. This is a great document. It is incredibly useful for dungeon design, for creating new locations. I highly recommend. So I'm going to be using that as well. Oh, what does Beans think of tarot cards? Beans thinks they're super fascinating. Ooh, they add a mysterious and magical element to storytelling. That is very true. Thank you, Beans. So yeah, once again, I'm going to shuffle some up because the actual D&D Tarot guidebook, once again, gives you some ideas on how to use the tarot spreads as a method of adventure generation. Each card actually has like a little story hook, a little story prompt attached to it. And they give you a recommendation of doing like a 3-card spread to kind of give you an overview of what an adventure might look like if you pulled these 3 cards. So we're actually going to start with that. We're going to pull a spread of 3 cards, and this is going to inform the overall themes or storyline of the dungeon itself. Then we'll use the cards to generate room by room the dungeon. Make sense? Hopefully, we'll find out together. So we're gonna first shuffle this up. What is today's date? The 16th? Okay, so what is that, August? So that's 9, 10. Okay, sorry, I'm just doing some numerology in my head to figure out like how many times I might want to shuffle the deck. That's like my thing I like to do. It's not like a requirement, but you know, we all have our own little superstitions. 3, 4, and I'm also not like a masterful shuffler, and I despise That's a very strong word. I do not very much enjoy like the dealer shuffle. You know, I play too many, or I have played too many competitive card games in the past. Like when I was a teenager, I played like the Pokemon TCG. Like I used to go to tournaments at like Toys R Us and like play Pokemon cards. And as I've gotten older, now I play a lot of Magic. And like the idea of someone doing a dealer shuffle on like card game cards like sends a shiver down my spine, because like I want, you know, I'm so like specific about my card. Like I don't want them bent, you know. So I feel the same way about my cards. I shuffle them very manually, and I shuffle them very like, I don't know, humdrum. Plus it's a new moon too. Whoa, Mochi! Wow, I didn't even realize it was meant to be. The stream was meant to be the new moon tonight as we do this. Okay, so then the other thing that I like to do is I don't like to necessarily pull the cards either. I just like to let the chips fall where they may, which is, once again, my personal superstition. Your mileage will vary, so I'm essentially just going to like... Ooh, this one was actually already flipped upside down, which to me feels like that is a keeper. Nar giving me a howl in the chat. Oh, Mochi using that subscriber bonus for your level 1 adventuring emoji. Thank you so much, and thank you for the sub with Prime. So we're just gonna, you know, see. Oh, this one flipped. Oh, 2 flipped. Okay, those are our 3 cards. Okay, those are our 3 cards. So this is gonna be the theme, the overall theme of our dungeon, our story attached to the dungeon, because every dungeon is not just a location with cool traps and monsters and, you know, magical mishaps. I mean, it is. They contain those things. But it also contains story. It also contains drama. It contains narrative beats. And so we want to have that reflected. Oh my, this is cool. Okay, so I'm going to hold them all up individually. Once again, I can't see the suit of these cards yet. I'm going to have to reference the guidebook since it doesn't state, but it does show you the card type, not the suit. So what I pulled was the king, the queen, and the lovers card. Huh? How thematic is that? The king, the queen, and the lovers. So this is a king of some suit, right? We don't know which suit yet, but this is the king that I pulled. This is the queen that I've pulled, right? And this is the lovers that I have pulled. Okay, so I'm going to make a little note here under my tarot. I'm going to make a new tab on my document, which is tarot spread story. Okay? So we have the king, we have the queen, and we have the lovers. So I'm going to grab this text. I'm going to blow it up real nice and big so everybody can hopefully get a good look at it. Bump. And then a bump, and then a bump. Perfect. Love that for me. Love that. And then, now that we have that all aside, I'm gonna take a look at the... Oh, this is interesting. I'm gonna look at the guidebook and see if I can't find... Well, I mean, I can't. I'm gonna find. They're all in the guidebook, but I'm gonna see which suits they match up to. Now... the lovers is actually a major arcana card, which means it does not link up to a suit. It will be in its own section of the guidebook, which is so it'll make it a lot easier to find. So I think we'll start there. Let's start there. Where are you? Where are you? We're looking for the lovers card to see what story prompt. I mean, I can only imagine what the story prompt the lovers is going to give us, but I mean, like, we'll see what it says. The lovers. Ooh, okay. So the lovers, which is notated right here in the corner of the guidebook. Actually, interesting art for the lovers. It looks like 2 people holding holding fighting implements. Well, there's a sword and a wand, so there's like a wizard and a knight, and they are both crossing a horizon line together. So that's kind of an interesting take on the Lover's card in general, sort of different type of partnership. It says finding harmony and relating with yourself and others while honoring your values. Pretty good. What's the word? Overall interpretation of the card. Then so the specific story link that they want to assign to the Lover's card is a mysterious person presents you with a tempting offer. Oh, okay. A mysterious person, what is it, approaches you? Presents you. So the party presents the party, in brackets, the party, with a tempting offer. Might be a nice cheese spread. I mean, honestly, that queen card did have like a huge banquet table set on it, so could be. Propositions you, says Nara, the Lover card. not too far off. Okay, so now we have to find the specific king and the queen that is associated to that suit, because it doesn't have the suits easily listed. The one looks like the King of Swords, just because there's a very obvious sword shown in the card, but also has a tree, which makes me think earth, which makes me think pentacles, because that is the element typically associated with the minor arcana strength. Oh, they also, that's another thing this booklet does. Instead of breaking the suits down by like pentacles, cups, all of your typical tarot, terminology, they actually break down into D&D terminology. So it is the King of Strength, right? So it is like the strength stat, which is interesting. I wonder, what does it say about strength? Signifies physical ability and move and change your environment. It's also your passion, creativity, inner resolve, and heart. These cards show seekers that they need to take action and focus on inner strength. So this is like the wands, which would be the swords, which makes sense. I said was the King of Swords. There is a sword present. So I think I was right on that. Nar said, "Oh, pentacle. I thought you said tentacle and was slightly confused." Yeah, the 10 of tentacles. Don't get me wrong. That tarot deck exists somewhere. There's a market for everything. The tentacle deck exists. The Cthulhu tarot is definitely a thing. Okay, so this is the King of Swords. I thought Wolf said something else. Yeah, that's also a tarot deck, Mochi. Probably several. So this is the King of Swords. It says, fully expressing your powers of leadership and realizing your vision, teaching others. Okay, so yeah, definitely some wands energy going on right there. The storyline prompt is, while traveling, the party comes across a nest of Yuan-ti that are planning on subjugating a nearby village. Ooh, so that's like a lot, actually. That gave us an enemy, the Yuan-ti, which are the snake folk, right? So number one, we have that already locked in. And we also have like a tension. They're trying to, in Sorcel, they're trying to subjugate a nearby village. So that's a lot right here. Nar said, are these things supposed to be combined or are they separate things? The cards themselves and their meanings are separate, right? So if you read the guidebook, like, is it going to be the Yuan-ti proposition in the party? Yes, we are going to find a way to merge all of these story notes into the overall theme, into the overall arc of the dungeon or the story itself. So they're going to start as separate, and then we as the dungeon masters and the storytellers are going to find a way to fuse all of the elements together, which honestly, I mean, these two threads themselves, I'm already seeing a path through, because the Yuan-ti, if you're familiar with them as a species, as a lineage in D&D, there are many different types of Yuan-ti, and some express their snake-like traits more physically, more viscerally than others. They actually look snake-like. while others look mostly human with maybe some very slight serpentine traits, right? Maybe like fangs or slitted eyes or forked tongues that they can actually mask with magic, and they act like spies and informants and, you know, like eyes on the wall in the realms. So I'm already kind of seeing maybe a plot line here where this mysterious person presenting a tempting offer might be like a Yuan-Ti spy or like a Yuan-Ti informant who's trying to maybe lure the party into, you know, into the clutches of the Yuan-Ti so that they can, you know, eliminate the party from interfering once they want to, you know, strike down on the village and take control of it. So, like, I'm already seeing, you know what I mean? We're already seeing the threads here. So let's make a note of that. There's a Yuan-Ti in my Sunday D&D party, the same one where I'm a werewolf. Yeah, the Yuan-Ti are playable. They've been playable for, I want to say, a couple years now in a couple different source books. And they're super cool. You know, in the original printing of the Yuan-Ti, they were mostly relegated to like an adversarial, you know, type of role that you were fighting against. But in more recent books, they've become, you know, fully playable, which is really great because they're really fun character, you know, a culture to play with. All right, so we're going to say, while traveling, we're going to write down their prompt here. The party comes across a nest of Yuan-Ti that are planning on subjugating a nearby village. Perfect. I can't type. Village. Okay, so we kind of know our main adversary. We kind of know a bit of our moment before here. And then finally, we just have to find our queen card. The queen here who's holding a pumpkin. The queen who is holding the feast, a bit of a halfling queen, a halfling innkeeper kind of situation. That once again makes me think pentacles. All of these cards are making me think pentacles, for better or worse, I guess. Oh, I just saw in the art, famous D&D character Drizzt, you know, however you pronounce it, famous Drow Ranger, Drizzt Du-Erden. It's pretty cool. Okay, where are we? Where's my queen? Where are you, my queen? Come to me. Come to me, my darling queen. I passed her up. I lost her. Queen, are they always in the left-hand corner? That'd be very easy to help me find. They're not. They are not. Of course, that would make it too easy for me. Come on, queen. I can't find her. Nar says, or maybe it's a member of the village that is propositioning the party for help. Or maybe both, and the party has to choose who to help. Ooh, to side with the baddies? Are we the baddies? Are we the bad guys? Are we the baddies? Could be. That'd be fun. Page, knight, queen. See, it'd be easier. Oh, if the suits were more readily printed on the cards. Hence this this particular deck's criticism that I've heard in the past. There we go. Here's the queen. She's the queen of charisma. Okay, so what does charisma mean in this deck? What is their interpretation? Charisma. A person's confidence, eloquence, and their ability to influence the material world with their energy. These cards show seekers the flowering of their inner beauty and power is taking place, or they have an opportunity to grow their self-esteem and expand their capacity for fun and joy. Interesting. To me, that kind of sounds like... That also sounds like wands to me. Because strength, intelligence is definitely air, because it talks about intelligence, and air is usually the intellect, and intelligence is that stat. Wisdom represents not only your internal perception, but also your capacity to look into your internal world. Yeah, I wish they had more direct, what's the word, conversions here. But we don't really need that. to get the story prompt. Still, once again, as a divination tool, it is not very beginner friendly. You would have to like kind of start at square one and then teach yourself purely off of the art, which is hard. Okay. Queen, creating a nurturing space for yourself and others to achieve greatness, maintaining work-life balance. So the story prompt is, a farmer claims that his goose that lays golden eggs has been stolen by a cyclops and is asking for your help in getting it back. Interesting. All right, we'll see how literally we take that prompt. I like the goose that lays a golden egg. I feel like we should definitely steal that. Maybe we'll see if the Cyclops makes the final cut. But let's see here. A farmer claims maybe a one-eyed Yuan-ti. Ooh, yeah, that could be. Also, my watch is yelling at me. Also, I'd have to double check my Yuan-ti lore here, because I know that they can undergo rituals to transform into like if they consume. I think one of the lore interpretations, the one I'm most familiar with, is like they can consume other Yuan-ti to like gain power, because they're like snakes that like swallow whole, and then like transform into like different versions of Yuan-ti. So I know there's like a transformational element to their culture, so maybe there's like a conversion of like non-human creatures that might be interesting. A farmer claims that his goose that lays golden eggs has been stolen by a cyclops and is asking for your help in getting it back. Okay. Perfect. Also, the Yuan-ti could have definitely conscripted a cyclops to do their bidding. Would be interesting. One thing that I'd like to know for placement, the physical placement of the dungeon in the world, is, do the Yuan-ti and the Cyclops share any biomes, right? Like D&D often, what's the word? Categorizes monsters by the types of terrain that you might find them in while adventuring, right? Like deserts, Underdark, ocean, right? So if we know, kind of maybe get an idea of where Yuan-ti and Cyclops both maybe might have like some, what's the word? Intersectioning, like when you talk about a Venn diagram, right? Where the center is, overlap. That's where we can like plop the dungeon down. So Yuan-ti are, Nar says, or maybe the Cyclops is trying to keep the golden eggs away from the Yuan-ti because it knows they want them for some reason. Ooh, that I actually really like, Nar. Yeah, because the eggs could, like, oh man, what's that monster that's like a chicken, but it's like cursed by like a cockatrice, right? It's like where it stares at someone and it turns them to stone. I have to look at the cockatrice lore to solidify that. But yeah, maybe the Yuan-ti want to use them for some conversion, some kind of ritual. That's interesting. I like that. It also makes the Cyclops kind of a, what's the word? A sympathetic character. Like, you know, the party might show up and be like, we have to kill the Cyclops. Actually, the mysterious person who tempts the party with an offer could be a Yuan-ti that's like, you have to go kill the Cyclops for the village, otherwise we're doomed. But really, they're trying to have the Cyclops X'd so that the party can go and like claim the eggs, right, for themselves, or so the Yuan-ti can. So that's interesting. All right, so then let's see, Cyclops, D&D biome. I just want to make sure. I'm assuming you can find a Cyclops in a forest. Jungle, I mean, you can technically see them anywhere, but like, you know, I'd like to get, for my own purposes, the Cyclops could be some sort of druid, mayhaps. Ooh, a Cyclops druid. That'd be an interesting stat block to make. You know me, I love making monster stat blocks. Let's see. Cyclops D&D biome. For some reason, my phone internet wants to fail me. More here. Mountains and hills. Okay, so I'm gonna say hills to forest. That makes sense. All right, so let's take a look at... All right, so now we have an idea. We kind of already have a rough idea of the geography. I guess what we have to figure out here: forest, mountain, jungle, aquatic, coast, mountain. Let's say, Nar says, funnily enough, my friend is playing a Cyclops druid in a campaign, lol. Why is every character that we have here relevant to your story? I kind of like the idea of a mountain, maybe not like a frosty mountain, but like a temperate mountain. I kind of feel like the Yuan-Ti could maybe have a a temple which is built into the stone. Because once again, if we're playing with the idea that we're building the dungeon down, right, it's several floors, we'd kind of want a large structure for them to build into, even though they're not typically found in mountains. Like, you can imagine that there's probably mountains in which a forest borders, right? So perhaps they'd use the mountain as a means to hide some of their temples. I dig that. Okay, so what we're gonna do here, let's use dungeon location. We're gonna use some of the tables present in dangerous destinations to help us design our location before we place rooms in it. Nar says, maybe the Yuan-Ti are struggling because they're in a cold climate, whereas they're used to a warm climate. Yeah, that must mean then that whatever is in this temple, this dungeon, whatever it is, we're still discovering why they're there and what that is. Hey, Fleetwood, happy to have you. Hello. Would have to be very important, right, to them, or very pivotal to their plans to, like, make themselves, vulnerable, right, to, like, the cold elements. That'd be interesting. All right, let's go to dangerous destinations. Oh, I should have grabbed my physical dice for this, but luckily I do have a little dice app. All right, so single mountain or lone mountain? Mountain range, okay. So part of a mountain range, which is always fun. The mountain size, we're just gonna say it's a large mountain, right? We don't have to roll for that. Great Rise. A rise is on Earth that covers the same amount of the land. Cause yeah, I mean, they both are just talking about like map size of the mountain, but we're not really worried about map size right now. We're not working with like physical location like that. Destination location. Ooh, that's interesting. So like what part of the mountain? Ooh, okay. Kind of like that. A 6? Mid slope. Okay, so the entrance is in the middle of the mountain, which means they're either gonna have to climb up it to get inside, or find a way to go above it and then down, which seems like the far more dangerous option. But middle just means no matter which way they go, they're gonna have their work cut out for them. And then notable environmental features. What is that? What sort of notable landmarks are nearby? Is there one for a ridgeline? I was wondering if they had one for a forest, but maybe they don't. So we'll just have to... We'll roll and see what we get here. An 11. Small body of water. Okay. So maybe that's an alternate entrance. A pond. It's always nice to have multiple possible avenues for your party to enter. You know, if they explore well enough. So that could be that there's maybe a water body nearby that could be an alternate source of entrance to the dungeon. So we'll say there's a pond or lake nearby. And then we'll say possible second entrance. That would also be a nice way for the Yuan-Ti to get in and out very easily, right? Without having to climb down the mountains. They probably have like a, you know, secret way to get in and out quicker through the water. The destination. What is the terrain like in and around? Okay. Oh, it's a D12 this time. The area in and around the destination is largely level. I keep thinking that Yuan-Ti is a rapper. That would be, I can see the, what's the word? The aesthetic already, right? Like just decked out in like snake tattoos and maybe like snake gear, all green. I can see it already. Maybe get some fangs, some fake fangs. Earthen. The area in and around the destination is largely level with soil and at least some plant life. Okay, so yeah, bordered by soil, plant life, forest, right? Which makes sense for the Yuan-Ti. We love to see it. And then trails. That's interesting. Yes, those cringe TikTok rappers. Yuan-Ti are definitely rappers with a W. Haha, yeah, literally will constrict you with their tails to death. The trail tables account for the main paths that lead up to and or down the mountain and to and from your destination. On any table beginning with the word trail, roll twice. Unless the destination is at the base or peak. I don't think we need to roll twice. I think we can roll once and just sort of wing it. So we have, they are very narrow trails. So it is walkable. Wide enough for a single human to walk facing forwards. Without handholds or some additional structure, the risk of falling is considerable. One person, single file, no handholds, chance of falling likely without prep. Okay, and then the trail type. We're gonna roll a d8 for that, a 1. Natural. They're natural. So this is just the trails are what's the word? Divots in the stone, nothing paved or worked by hand. That's how you spell divots? 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 Divots. Natural divots in the road. The trail safety measures, I'm just going to say none. This place is pretty, measures none. Measures with a Z. None. I mean, the whole point of this place is that it's kind of secret. Trail condition. Okay. I'm gonna roll on that to see what we get for the trail condition. 7 is precarious. The trail is collapsing, but any structures or handholds, if there are any, are still largely present. Well, they already said there are no handholds. So the trail is collapsing. Precarious. So that gives us kind of like a skill challenge to begin the dungeon with, right? Like we actually have to climb the mountain. Oh, Mochi, feed that beans, feed the beans, feed the beans the cookie. Trail condition. Trail condition. Perilous and collapsing. So, yeah, this would mean that if the party doesn't figure out about the secret water entrance, they have to climb the mountain, and in so doing, there will be like rock falls and, you know, checks to make sure they don't go splat, which is fun. And then the trail hazard is 6, a sheer drop. The area of the destination or the trail leading up to it has a significant drop off to one or both sides. If it runs through a tunnel, there could be unstable areas. Nar says, I'm so sad my latest Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough won't load. Did you download any mods or anything? That's so sad, I'm sorry. I know mods are already out for that game, which is wild to me. But, okay, so the trail hazard is a sheer drop. Yeah, so we already have, like, our main... Look at how... Why did it make the text so small? I need big text. I need the big, strong text. Alright, so this will help us already create some drama for the characters before they even get into the dungeon, right? They have to climb this mountain, face the dangers. We're not going to worry about weather. We're not going to worry about the environmental dangers because we want to spawn some of those as we play. Nar says, I had this issue before and it got fixed when I turned off the cloud save. Maybe I'll try turning it back on. Fleetwood says, roll back version 4 of the game so any changes from today are disabled until they release version 4 again. Oh, okay. That makes sense. I can only imagine it's an extreme priority for them tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, how many people's saves are going to be locked in limbo? Like Nar, I'm sorry, Nar. Yeah, they're going to want to roll that back quick. So now we have to figure out what is this place? Is it a burial ground? Is it a camp? Is it a fortress? Is it a headquarters? Is it a hideout? I kind of want to say, knowing Yuan-Ti, that I want to make it some sort of maybe religious site or structure, because they're all about their like serpent cults and their like magic rituals and their spooky stuff. So I'm kind of feeling like religious structure is the way to go. Yeah, that's the way I'm feeling right now. Hotfix 4 came out today, though, says Nar. Gasp. I don't know. Oh, look at this. This right here looks like it should be a Yuan-Ti temple to begin with. You got the overgrowth of the forest. Perfect. Okay, so let's figure out a little bit more about our religious structure of the Yuan-Ti. We are gonna roll a d10. We got a 10. So this is a great temple. Hell yeah! That's what we want. We want the greatest of temples. An awe-inspiring structure devoted to that which it venerates. Its construction likely took an enormous amount of labor, time and expense. Okay, so perfect. That is exactly what we want for a cool mega dungeon as a great temple. I'm gonna keep the text that small size. I'm gonna just blow it up later. Faith domain. Yuan-Ti, what would their gods normally be? I might hold off on that until I double check my Yuan-Ti gods, right? We'll go back to it. We'll check out the furnishings though. 12. Oh, no. Oh, it's a 7. I'll say it was a 7. Or no, actually, I rolled a 12 on the 12, and it is opulent, which makes sense for the Great Temple. So this is like a really lush, beautiful temple. which is super interesting that the beginning of this this quest is like, find me some golden goose eggs from this nearby village. We're just gonna say that the age of this place is ancient, because that makes everything more fun. The condition of the temple is interesting, though. 2. Poor. What class is your character, Mr. Streamer? So, Fleetwood, we've, age-scient? It is age-scient. Oh, age-scient, age-ancient, mochi. That pun game's still strong. Fleetwood, interesting you should ask about our character's class. So, obviously we're not playing Baldur's Gate 3 yet. I have to wait until either they do the delayed release on Mac, or I upgrade my rig into a PC, which I am planning on doing, actually. I'm in talks with a couple people buying my old stuff and buying new stuff, so we'll see which happens first. But the main character of the Baldur's Gate playthrough that we will have on the channel is... We took a... Oh, you meant in this TTRPG that you're streaming? You mean like in the dungeon that we're creating right here? Well, I'm assuming my role as the dungeon master here. So the character. Oh, Fleetwood. I did not realize that you might have been late to the party. So this is not a solo stream. This is a D&D design stream. We're designing a dungeon. And we're actually using tarot cards to do it. We started with some tarot cards. We're using this PDF to get a basis of the location, and then we're gonna switch back to tarot cards to fill in some runes. So sorry, yeah, I was like, my brain. You can tell I had a long day at work today. So the condition of this place is poor. So the Yuan-Ti must be fairly new to it. It is a recent discovery, since it's not well maintained, and the Yuan-Ti, of course, are very religious. They're very sanctimonious. They would make sure this place is like pristine and beautiful, right, for their rites. But if it's in poor condition, that means they probably haven't had a lot of time here yet. They're probably still in the process of discovering ways through it, which is interesting. Yeah, okay. So we're gonna say condition of temple poor, and then we'll just copy and paste. We'll blow up the size, everything later. And we already know the religious structure is in the mountains. The religious structure danger. We already kind of know what the danger is. Okay, perfect. So we kind of have an idea of our lore here, which is cool. I'm wondering the faith domain for the Yuan-Ti. I think that I'm trying to think back on this egg thing, right? What if the eggs are like, because they're golden, right? They're like, they're a form of life, but they're like an elevated form of life, right? Like they're like a more valuable sort of commodity. I'm wondering if maybe they're using these like unborn golden eggs in like some sort of like some ritual. Oh yes, Northern Agreement says the first 3 cards that I pulled were the King, the Queen, and the Lovers, which is a very thematic pull. And I can actually go back right here to show you the spread. So each of the cards, they are D&D themed tarot cards as well. Fancy, fancy, fancy. Each of the cards has a story prompt attached to them in the guidebook. Right, this is the official D&D guidebook for the tarot cards they've made. So yeah, the King's prompt is: while traveling, the party comes across a nest of Yuan-Ti that are planning on subjugating a nearby village. The Queen was: a farmer claims that his goose that lays golden eggs has been stolen by Cyclops and is asking for your help in getting it back. And then the Lover says: a mysterious person presents the party with a tempting offer. So these are sort of our narrative threads that we're playing with to try and form a story around this great temple that's hiding in the mountains, right? So we're mixing everything together. I'm wondering, yeah, maybe the Yuan-Ti are like using these eggs as like some sort of sacrifice to do some sort of ritual in the temple So maybe the faith that they're pledging to is one of death. Maybe death and life. Love, light, luck. Magic, music, nature, order, time, trickery. Yeah, I feel like with an egg, like life is very thematic, right? The sacrifice for the great omelet. Has anybody here ever played Neopets? What was the prehistoric omelet that you could try and sneak and grab a piece of the omelet every day? Am I the only one who was a Neopet stan in like middle school? So yeah, I'm gonna say faith domain. We're gonna play with the idea of life, death, sacrifice, maybe even like bounty, wealth, right? Maybe like sacrificing these golden eggs for like a treasure to the Yuan-ti. Interesting. All right, so now we're gonna go to the part that maybe we've all been waiting for. The protein domain, the swole domain, the jacked domain. We're gonna move back to the cards. So we have a rough idea of why the Yuan-ti are here. We'll flesh that out as we go, right? But the main thing that we want to concern ourselves with is that we know that the main adversary is Yuan-ti. We know that they're sweet talking, they're convincing the players to pursue a Cyclops that is jealously guarding some golden eggs, and that they want those eggs for some reason or another, right? For their own nefarious ends. So from here, we're going to shuffle up our cards a little bit. And one more. Okay. So, for those of you joining us a little late, we talked a little bit about how we're going to be using these principles on tarot-based dungeon design. This is a system I found at this link, which I've whited out because it contains some naughty words. I'll post it in the Discord later. But depending on what cards we draw is what is going to help guide what lands in the rooms of each dungeon. Nar says, and let's not forget the village that bred the golden egg layer that's caught in the middle of the mix. Of course, there's always there's always a little village mix-up. All right, so we're gonna draw. Oh, all right, we had our first card fall. It is a 5 of some sort. It's an interesting card. It looks like a bunch of gnomes who are in a hot air balloon who are being lifted aloft by an ogre or some sort of big muscly monster. That card shuffling ASMR though. Is this going to be the new direction for the channel? Hi guys. Welcome. Welcome to level 1 adventure. As I drop a shit ton of cards. Shows you how good I am at shuffling. Not very. All right, so we know this is a 5. So let's find this 5, this hidden 5. Ah, I'm so good. I found it immediately. So it is a 5 of wisdom. 5 of wisdom. This lo-fi track giving me some bops right now. The card still seekers turn within the heart and body. Okay. Oh, sorry. I need to look at one thing. I want to see what is the word? Yeah. Wisdom represents your internal perception. What sort of the consensus was the different suits from the D&D cards to an actual tarot deck? Because once again, the D&D deck has sort of imagined all of their suits as like stats, but they don't explicitly say which stats align with the original suits, which, you know, I might take umbrage with, because it just makes things hard to read, but we're gonna use it anyway. So if wisdom here is stating we're looking into our internal world and see all the subtleties within yourself, to me that's reading cups, that's reading emotional intelligence, that is reading is water, right? So if it is a 5 of cups, so this is a standard, level appropriate, site appropriate, and dangerous obstacle. But cups is non-functional dungeon appropriate decor. Okay, so what that is reading to me, let's go back to our tarot dungeon. We need to figure out the path the party takes through our dungeon. So we're gonna say that the 4 of cups starts us off here. I'm gonna make this text really big, like everything else. So this is non-functional. So this is just dungeon decor, essentially. But it is also a level appropriate threat. And it's also upright. I want to make a note of that. I'm going to use green for upright. I'll make a note of this here. Green is upright. Red is reverse. Because once again, as we learned from reading the tarot dungeon tips from earlier, an upright card stacked next to another upright card is a conjoined path, whereas an inverted card is a disconnected path. So that's something we want to bear in mind. All right, so this is the 4 of Cups. It is dungeon decor. It is a leveled threat. And I want you to imagine, as we're designing this grid together, that each little box in this grid, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, these are all different rooms, right? So we also kind of have to figure out what the room is, not only in the context of what the cards are telling us, but what the room is in terms of our other little tip here, our 9-room dungeon path, right? So in the 9-room dungeons, there are some, some different examples that you can place in the dungeon. Valuables to take, things to attack, things that attack you, things to experiment with, they don't have to be magical, things that differentiate the ways to go, ways to get scars, powers, or transformations, obstacles and hazards make them obvious, beings to talk to, secrets, and then reminders of who in charge, boss markers. To me, I'm reading this as number 7, obstacles and hazards. We already talked about how just to get into the dungeon, and this is the first room in our dungeon, right? Just to get in here, you need to climb up a big old steep mountain cliff drop, right? So if this is the 4 of the Cups, which means it's essentially an empty room just filled with dungeon decor, but it is a leveled threat, what I'm reading in my mind is this is the climb up the mountain to get into the opening, the mouth of the cave, which like leads into the temple proper, right? So this is the number 7. This is the obstacle or the hazard, right? Oh, I just made the background white and not, there we go. Perfect. Or not perfect. And so, yeah, this is the entrance of our dungeon. And we're gonna like write more about this as we go, but I basically just want to get the basic bones on the page here. I also want to take a look at the 5-room dungeon. The 5-room dungeon is another D&D staple design course you can use to creating locations. It also gives you recommendations on narrative beats to place in dungeons, right? So things like guardians, tricks and setbacks, who am I, Gollum? Setbacks, treasures and revelations, right? So we can also use the 5-room dungeon to help us seed narrative beats, 5 narrative beats within the 9 rooms of the dungeon, right? We had a lot to work with, but we just want to know what is in this room, which the answer is not much. It has decor that signifies that it is probably the entrance of the dungeon, maybe like some carvings, some religious carvings, right? Maybe statues. Religious carvings, maybe. And we know that it is a leveled threat and it is an obstacle or a hazard, which is one of the components we're trying to fill this dungeon with. Okay, so now we are going to, that's the first, in our tarot spread, essentially, because we have a 9x9 grid, right? It's going to be 1, 2, 3 cards, then 4, 5, 6 cards, then 7, 8, 9 cards. So 3 sets of 3 all stacked on top of each other. Nothing gonna fall, nothing gonna fall. Nar says, sneaky little step-backses. Sneaky little step-backses. Okay. One of the cards did fall, so that is the one we're gonna take. That is the one we're gonna take. It is. That's the one we want. Ooh, it is the Hanged Man. Another major arcana. Hopefully y'all can see that in this light. I can't see my own screen, so I'm just going off of vibes here. The Hanged Man is another major arcana card, and this is right side up. So this actually means it will connect physically within the dungeon. There is a door between this cavern and this cavern. Actually, can I change? What if I did the backs of these in green? Yeah, that might give us, or is that too harsh on the eyes? I wish I could fill the actual back of this table. If I go to insert. This isn't like, what's the word? Numbers or Keynote or Excel, so I don't have all the same options that I'm used to. We'll just keep it green for now, the text. The song right now is bopping. Okay, so let's take a look at what the dungeon design gives us for majors. There are 45 rooms in your dungeons, adjacent cards, completely isolated cards. Major. Oh, I guess it doesn't give you. Notes on the majors, only for the base suits. Okay, so that's good to know. Oh, you got it to load? Congratulations, Nar. You're in it. You're in the game. Yeah, it only gives you somehow turning cloud save, turned it back on, worked. Nice, good for you. Yeah, it only gives you. There are 45 rooms in your dungeon. Maybe they're not accounting for the tarot cards or the major arcana cards in that equation. Interesting. I wish they gave you stuff for them, but I guess it makes sense. Okay, so we're gonna pretend the Hangman wasn't there then if they're not gonna give us a seed for it. And I guess you could use maybe the other prompts in here, but I don't want to mix up too many story prompts, because if we start adding too many narrative threads, it's gonna lose some sense, you know? We want to try and keep. Feel like this is another swords. This girl. Oh yeah. She's got a sword. She is a 10 of Swords. How do we deal with what shows up in our lives? 10 is related to or is the same nature as the Queen, possibly a minion. So the Queen is major, bad, plot relevant. And then Swords is a person or a monster. Okay, so this is a Yuan-Ti guard, right? So this is if the Queen is a major bad plot relevant threat. So this is like a Yuan-Ti priest or priestess, right? And 10 is related to the Queen, the big bad. Then yeah, this is a minion of the Queen plus an inanimate feature or an object. So let's go back to our tarot dungeon. In the 5-room structure, I would say that this is would be, they'd kind of both be guardians, right? Guardian. Then we have the 10 of Swords. So this is a minion. Nar said, while I was debugging, was there any other cards drawn besides King, Queen, and Lovers? Yes, there was what I'm assuming was the 5. I wrote 4 here, but I lied. I just realized I lied to you and I wrote down the wrong number. The 5 of Cups. And the 10 of Swords. So the 5 of Cups, the 10 of Swords. They are the first 2 cards in our dungeon. So this is a minion. Plus an inanimate object, right? So more dungeon decor. And I would say this is also the Guardian. So when we take a look at the 5 of Cups, don't choose poorly. I'm trying not to. It's hard to, like I said, maybe next time if we continue the stream, maybe I should use one of my more traditional tarot decks where the suits are very plainly labeled on them, because the fact that these don't have the usual suits kind of adds an extra mental step. I wanted to use them because they were the D&D cards, so it like all makes sense, but they are proving to be a little difficult to read on the fly. So when you look at the 9 rooms that we want to have here, so we already have 7 taken care of, an obstacle or a hazard, right? Climbing the mountain to get inside the temple. Then we get inside, we move into like the first tunnel, let's say. And now we have minions who are guarding the entrance. The inanimate object, I'm going to assume, is a door, right? And the threat, there are things to attack. Easy threats to instill false confidence, right? Because a dungeon should have some fights where you feel like you can breeze through them and you feel heroic. And you have some dungeons where the monsters are like gonna mop the floor with you and you're gonna have to think smart, fight smart. I think fight smart, hard, good, to win, right? So to me, that is reading this is another Guardian. This is, these are a group of lower CR Yuan-Ti guards. And they are guarding the temple doorway, so the proper entrance into the dungeon. And we are going to say, in terms of fulfilling our requirements for what is inside of the 7 rooms, we're going to say that is, what did I say that was? Number 2. Which is the easy threat. So this is basically your party climbs the big mountain, then the first thing they see is a bunch of Yuan-ti who are like guarding the doorway, and now they have to like fight their way. That's actually pretty, yeah, you know, you could be fighting the Yuan-ti, and the Yuan-ti aren't that tough, but they're on the side of the mountainside that doesn't fall off of the cliff, right? So that could be part of the fight. Maybe the Yuan-ti are trying to push the characters back so that they can like throw them down the cliffside. That can be like a very daring kind of scene that you could have with your party, which is fun. You always love watching a party member take a tumble. The Justice card keeps reappearing in all of your readings. Ooh. I mean, I don't want to tell you how to live your life, Fleetwood. Might need to meditate on that. 10 of Swords, 5 of Cups. Okay. So and these rooms are connected because once again, the upright cards are continuous. So this is like how the players are navigating. They're crawling up here and they're moving forward. Oh yeah, what does Beans have to say about our tarot cards? Tarot card spread sounds intriguing. The mix of the King Queen's lovers could suggest a complex dynamic between important figures in the adventure. Ooh, the King and the Queen could represent influential leaders, while the lovers might hint at alliances or complicated relationships. Look at Beans being a master tarot reader. Oh my god, the fives could yes, a setback or loss. You're not wrong about that. And the 10 of Swords might create oh, look at that. 10 of Swords is conflict. That's a fight. The 5 of Cups is a setback, which is an obstacle or a hazard, right? Like, okay, Beans. Okay, Beans. You know your stuff. All right, and now we are going to see what our next non-major arcana card will be in our spread. Just gonna keep going until something falls, except for the ones I'm holding. And oh, there we go. That's something. That is something. Ooh, our first inverted card, which is a king. It's another king, so we can use it. Ooh, I love the art on this. So there's at least in this art, there sort of looks like a storm giant, like a storm giant lord who is standing above an adventurer who is maybe offering, placating them with a sword. It's very cool. The art's cool. But this is the first one that is inverted, which means this is not a continuous path through the dungeon. So if they enter here, they go into this room does not have a doorway into it, right? So let's take a look at what king this is. What king is this? Oh, the King of Swords. Yeah, it makes sense, since there was a sword in the art. Okay, so what does the king mean? King of Swords. Let's go down here. A major bad and plot irrelevant unless there are no queens on the table, in which case it is plot relevant. Okay. And the Swords is a person and or monster plus an inanimate feature or object. Interesting. So I'm starting to see now that I think the pages, knights, queens, and kings, these are all PCs. Or not PCs, but they are all characters within the dungeon, right? So the queen is kind of our big bad. The king is a major character. They are villainous. And it says plot irrelevant unless there are no queens on the table, which there currently isn't, in which case it is plot relevant. So they are there, and this is Swords, so it is a person or monster plus an inanimate feature or an object. Interesting. And it's also hidden from the rest of the dungeon. So this sounds like maybe the things. You thought there was a queen drawn, though. There was a queen drawn for the overall story of the adventure, right? The king and the queen was a part of the story that is taking place, but there has not been a queen drawn for the actual layout of the dungeon, if that makes sense. So the layout of the dungeon is separate to the cards that are being drawn for our narrative implications, right? So right now the only court card that has appeared for the dungeon layout itself, the actual room by room progression of the dungeon, has been this king. So the King of Swords. So this is not a minion. This is sort of a major. It's sort of a major villainous character. Plus an inanimate object. Ooh, I wonder. And it's on the first floor. I'm wondering if maybe this is where we put the Cyclops? Right? Maybe the Cyclops is being held under lock and key by the Yuan-ti. Right? Because this room isn't connected, so the players would have to find another way in there. This could be like a prison cell. It could be like a holding cell. Or something like that, where an important figure is being held. And it says plot relevant. So, by villain, I mean, this could be, depending on how they play the Cyclops, it could be a friend or it could be a foe, right? Maybe that's something. So what I'm going to say here, it's an inanimate object, which reads to me as, like, bars, like cell, like some sort of some sort of restraint, right? So what I want to say here, I'm going to say, for now, we might toy with this later, I'm going to say this is the Cyclops in holding. Or maybe it's the villager who bred the golden goose, so to speak. Ooh. Okay. We'll say it's either the Cyclops or the villager. And we'll let the story unfold and tell us where we're going with it. And then the inanimate object is the holding bars and cells. In terms of what this is to me in the 9-room dungeon is beings to talk to, number 8, right? Could be humans, could be monsters, but it is something that the characters will be able to interact with. So this is 8 beings to talk to. Nar says, and they're trying to get info on where the golden eggs are, but they don't know because the Cyclops stole it. Yeah, it sounds like the Cyclops is definitely in cahoots with the Yuan-ti, and now probably being manipulated, by some degree, with like shinies or honestly, I'd have to once again dig up some Cyclops lore, maybe between sessions. I think Cyclopses eat people, so maybe it's like the Yuan-ti are like, hey, we'll make sure you have a continuous feed of people. We'll make sure you have meat, as long as you make sure that we get these eggs. Eggs for meat. You're not gonna eat those eggs. They're so tiny. What are you gonna do with those eggs, you silly Cyclops? And the Cyclops is like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And then the Yuan-ti are like, we're gonna use these eggs to do something dastardly. You idiot. You don't even know. All right, so that is our 8 beings to talk to, right? And then in terms of the 5-room dungeon, right, what is this narrative beat that is being told through here? This is a roleplay beat, right? This is the characters have the opportunity to roleplay. So you can see we're not only hitting what is in the room, but we are finding out what narrative beats the rooms are creating. So this is the roleplay encounter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh yeah, because this one has an animate object, so it's a what's the word? A line deeper. We're gonna go 26. King of Swords. This is red. So let's go back here. What does Nar say? Either the Cyclops is working for the Auntie, or it's an out-of-the-ordinary Cyclops is trying to stop the Auntie, or it could be a figurative Cyclops in that it's a one-eyed Auntie. That's true, too. I mean, this is tarot, right? So things can be left up to interpretation. I think we'll definitely get a better idea of the direction once we have a little bit more, what's the word, context with the other cards that we pull. But I do like this. Okay, so that is our first row of cards. That is 1, 2, 3. So these first 3 cards is the first row of our dungeon, right? So now we are going to go back to the drawing board here and see what is going to be the next room. I'm going to let the chips fall where they may. Oh, that one. Oh, there's a jumper. There's a leaper. Oh. Let me bend down here. Ooh, pretty. It is definitely a 3, because there's not only a 3 on the card, but there are 3 figures present. Nar says there could be a one-eyed, one-horned, flying golden egg eater. It was a one-eyed, one-horned, flying golden egg eater. See? I'm a bard. Okay, 3, 3, 3s. Let's look at the 3s. What cup are you, my friend, my 3 friend? There you are. Wisdom. Oh, that is definitely... Okay, wisdom is definitely cups. Because that is pretty much the definition of... Yep. Of the 3 of cups. And actually, it looks like almost like a traditional 3 of cups. More so than some of the other cards. So wisdom is definitely cups. I'm going to make a note here, since the guidebook itself does not make a pretty good delineation. So wisdom is cups, intelligence, intellect is swords, meaning strength would be wands, and that would leave... Interesting that charisma seems to be what they're using to represent the pentacles. Denotes a person confidence in their real... Yeah, I guess influence the material world with their energy is kind of a pentacles thing. That's interesting, though. You would think that something like strength, which is very physical, it's a very tangible material thing, would be the pentacles, because pentacles normally deals with physicality. But hey, I didn't design this deck. I'm just using it to do dumb D&D things online, so don't listen to me. Or do. Do as I say, not as I do. Alright. Oh no, that's I don't want this weird pea green. I want, like, nice yellow. There we go. Alright. So, but we do know that this is the 3 of Cups, which is the next thing on our docket. So, 3 of Cups. What is a 3? Let's go back to our tarot dungeon design principles. 3, dead, ruined, or broken. Interesting. And then the cups are empty or contain non-functional dungeon-appropriate decor. So this is something that is part of the dungeon but is dead or broken. Okay, interesting. So decor, so natural part of the dungeon, so empty, dead, and or broken. Interesting. We do know that the condition of this place is kind of falling apart. So this could perhaps be a hazard of some kind, right? It could be like because right now when they enter this zone, this is right side up. So they have the option of going this way or this way when they're in the dungeon, right? So this way is like, yeah, we definitely have to fight some Yuan-Ti to move forward into the dungeon. And this way is like, maybe we could sneak past them. But by sneaking past them, maybe they're walking through like a section of the floor which is like faulty or prone to like a cave-in, right? So like it's like more like they could avoid a fight, but if they're not careful, they're gonna get themselves into trouble. Yeah, that's interesting. We'll see as this moves forward. So I'm gonna say, yeah, natural part of dungeon, empty decor. I'm gonna say this is a collapsing tunnel or other entrance. To me, let's look at our things that differentiate. Yeah, things that differentiate the ways to go. So they climb up the mountain. Oh, that's interesting. Maybe as they're climbing up the mountain, they see like a smaller tunnel, like a little breakaway. Yeah, so they can choose to go to the main obvious entrance, which like they know is guarded, right? Like you can see like the carvings, like the stone obelisks, you know, as you're climbing. You're like, well, that's obviously how we go in, but there's gonna be guards there. Or we can try to maybe climb over to this other tunnel, which we can like see is like being broken out of the rock. But you know, it could be dangerous to sneak in. If they do it, they'll sneak into the dungeon as opposed to like sound an alarm, which is cool. Gives them some tension, gives them some choices. I like that. So let's go. Collapsing tunnel or other entrance. So this is a what's the word? An unstable cave seen during the climb into the dungeon. And in terms of, I'm gonna say this sounds like number 5, which is differentiate ways to go. Man, this song, okay. So these are both kind of entrances when you think about it. And in terms of the 5-room dungeon, I'm seeing this as a revelation. Yeah, this could be, or it could be the secret. Emoji says, damn, that sax, I know, right? It was like, it was going for it. That whole sequence was just so smooth. I'm gonna say it's a revelation for now. It could also be a secret. So this is either the revelation and or a secret. Oh, there's that sax again coming back in. Hey! Okay. Ooh. It's dirty. Oh, making me feel some kind of way. Alright. Unstable cave. During climb. Let's see if I can get this down one line. During climb into dungeon. Can I get it on one line? No! Unstable cave. Unstable cave. And I can say broken cave during climb. Yeah, that's fine. This is green, so this is another way of entering this dungeon. This is connected to this zone, which is interesting. Okay. So both roads, either if you sneak in or you come in through the front, lead here, right? So now let's draw another card. Ooh, that almost felt like a jumper, but it didn't commit. It did not commit. Didn't commit. I'm not gonna do it if it doesn't commit. Oh, that's a commit. That one committed. That one leapt or fell. More appropriately. I wish I had another table to catch my cards for me, but my desk is too shallow. Ooh, a page! Okay, so this is an NPC of some kind, and it is upright, so it is connected on both accounts. Ooh, the art's cool. It kind of looks like a monk. Looks like it would be a monk playable character. Let's take a look. Let's find our page. That's majors. Page. Okay, so it's not the page of strength. It is not the page of intelligence. It is the page of wisdom, which is once again cups. You're getting a lot of cups. Page of cups. Looks like a monk overlooking a horizon line. Actually looking at a mountain, so very fitting for what we're designing here. Okay, so we have a page now. Who is the page? Who is the page? Who is the page? A page is a non-combatant, plot-relevant, minion, or in the possession of queen. So this is an NPC. So many cups, but are they half empty or half full? When it comes to Yuan-ti, I'm not sure, but whether it's half full or half empty, it's filled with poison. I know that much. It is filled to the brim with serpent's venom. So you can determine whether or not you want that to be half full or half empty. A non-combatant though is interesting, because this implies like a villager, if anything. Or, well, we'll see. They are plot relevant. So we have the Page of Cups. Half empty, half full, all poison. Says Nar. Okay. So this is a non-combatant NPC who is... How did they word that? That was a very specific way they worded that. Who's either a minion of the queen or it possessed by the queen. Ooh, interesting. You know, our original plot thread when we started the tarot story said, a mysterious person presents the party with a tempting offer, right? So what if this is like a lieutenant of, this is like a Yuan-ti lieutenant, right? Who, like, depending on if the characters fight their way through the front or sneaks in, right? They are spotted, or they have the chance to be spotted by this, like, general, this, like, you know, person who's helping the Yuan-ti do their business here. But they don't attack, you know? They're like, ah, you're very resourceful. You have found your way past our guards, or you have found our way, a secret entrance into the temple. You could be of use to us. You should come with me. You should speak. You should speak to the high priest, right? Great riches can we give you. Should you align yourself with our dark god, right? I think that's kind of fun, and that plays directly into our story thread, which is a mysterious person presents the party with a tempting offer. I think that's cool. I think I want to play with that. Ooh. Oh, suddenly my back wanted to crack. Nar says, even the air that doesn't contain liquid has somehow been poisoned. They're pumping it in through the air filters. The fantasy medieval filtration system that they have going on. So it's a non-combatant NPC, a minion of the queen. It's the fumes. Don't breathe it in. So this is a Yuan-ti. Maybe they could even still approach the party with an offer, even if the party fights some Yuan-ti, because the individual is a rogue agent that isn't fully aligned with the Yuan-ti. Yeah, like this could definitely be someone that can go either way. It could also be a Yuan-ti, because the Yuan-ti are very famously, within their own cliques, very duplicitous, right? Like they're always trying to one-up each other or become, you know, the new head leader of the order. This could maybe be a Yuan-ti who has, like, dreams or aspirations of supplanting the current head of the cabal. So it's like, you know, the enemy of the enemy is my friend. Doesn't mean we're going to stay allied forever, but for now, you know. Exactly, they're trying to enact a coup. Exactly. I think that's a cool idea. So this is a Yuan-ti. This is like a higher-ranking Yuan-ti. Higher-ranking Yuan-ti. Higher-ranking Yuan-ti. What would we say? Saboteur, a Yuan-ti defector. High-ranking Yuan-ti defector, saboteur. And they're trying to supplant the head of the clergy. Manipulator's a good one too. Nar. Trying to supplant head of clergy. Okay. Now to me, what is this in terms of our 5-room dungeon? Once again, I think this is a role-playing counter. I mean, depending on how the players play it. I think it could turn into a combat if the players are like, no, we don't join your shady mission, snake person. But it could also turn into a, you scratch my back, you scratch my scales, I scratch your soft human flesh. Your very easily pierceable human flesh. See, I think that's a role-playing counter. So we kind of have 3 of the 5-room dungeons accounted for. We might have to change some things depending on how this goes. But in terms of the... you know, if the party's ever just gonna shoot smash first and ask questions later, exactly, you never know. If it's my party, I know. If it's my party, they'll smash first. Well, it depends on the game. The game that we're actually playing on stream, they're actually usually pretty keen to like talk or think their way through. My home game is like, drop meteors on enemies, ask questions later. And that has happened. That has actually happened. This sounds to me like a secret. right? I mean, it is beings to talk to, don't get me wrong, but it's also kind of a secret. Because this person is not entirely aligned with their cabal. This is something we could learn and use to our advantage, which is number 9, which is a secret. Okay, and we'll make this 26. And this is green. So are you starting to see what I'm talking about, how these are all rooms? Now that there's more text fleshed out, imagine that each box is a top-down view of the dungeon in terms of rooms, right? Of the layout of the dungeon. So this is technically not a room per se, but it is part of the dungeon. This is the climb up the dungeon, right? This is we're making our way towards the entrance. Then like halfway up this climb, right? Then the party sees 2 options. They see the lip of the cavern, which they can pull themselves up onto, and they are faced with the main temple doorway and a bunch of Yuan-Ti guards that are lying in wait, ready to fight them at the cliff's edge. Or, in the middle of that same climb, they now see this alternate path, which is we sneak in through a collapsing tunnel, a collapsing entranceway, right? And get into the dungeon from there. So these are like 2 separate rooms. Then, depending on which way they go, right? They find themselves in this antechamber, right? This like larger chamber, which has a Yuan-Ti informant in it. This is a whole other room, right? Now this room, there's no way to get into yet. But perhaps depending on what happens here in this room, there'll be an entrance, a way forward here. You get what I'm saying? So each box is a room. Each room has events and things inside of it, right? So now you can kind of see how the prompts and the cards are becoming locations. And the locations have narrative beats and purposes to guide our story through the dungeon. Nar says, maybe this individual is one that somehow lured the party to this location to begin with. Oh yeah, there could definitely be the Yuan-Ti coup could be larger than this one person. So, you know, we talked about how there's a person who initially offers the party the quest, who feeds the party the information, right? They could be a part of this same organization, the same splinter faction, if you will, right? Perhaps the person who gives them the tip-off, you know, says something along the lines of like, I mean, I'm totally making this up, but like, you know, look for the red serpent, you know, he will tell you what comes next. And then the party enters this room and they can see like a single guard with like a red snake tattoo on like the side of his face, right? I'm totally making this up off the top of my head, but then they're like, oh my god, that's the red serpent, he's supposed to help us. And then, you know, the coup could be larger than like these 1 or 2 people. The one that made the offer might work from the same person with the Page of Cups. Exactly. That's my train of thought too. The NPCs could branch further outside of this zone. But at least this NPC will be attached to that zone in terms of the overall story that we've created so far. Okay, now we need this room here. I'm interested to see, depending on what this room ends up being, that could mean this room here is entirely secret. A major NPC which is hidden behind here, which is very interesting. So we'll see. Let's take our cards and give it a whirl. Ooh, that's too many. I'm not going to take any of those. Oh, but that was just one. I dropped like 3 at a time, and then I was like, nope, and then 1 slid out afterward. So that is the one we're going for. Well, it's a 9, and I see a sword in the art, so I'm going to assume this is... We got a lot of swords and cups, a lot of air and water, a lot of mind and heart which are also probably threads we could play with, narrative threads anyway. To show the art here, looks like a knight with a blazing sword upon her shoulder, standing before whomst? Fellow soldiers? Interesting. A 9. A 9, a 9. I want to say that, I bet you that's swords. Which, as we know, or at least as we believe, because of our interpretations, I bet you it's intelligence. The 9, let me see if I'm right. No, interesting. That's what I mean. The art's very misleading. There's literally a sword on it, but it's not aligned with the air suit, which is very traditional Rider-Waite. They're taking a lot of leaps, which, I mean, guess I good for them. Yeah, it's a 9. That's a 9. I'm about to say, am I reading my numbers wrong? No, I know how to count. Surprisingly. One thing I've learned how to do. Okay, I passed it up somewhere. Every time I flip through this book, I miss an entire suit. Every single time. I don't know how. Strength. Okay. Which, as we've learned here, is wands. Okay. So, I lied. It's not swords. I saw a big sword. I guess the sword is on fire. Fire is wands. Okay. Interesting. I said 9. I said a 9 of wands. Okay. And that was upright. Yeah, so this is entirely enclosed. This is a total secret. Narcissa, since there are so many cups being drawn, there could be a theme with that, where there's a ceremonial toasting of some sort. Nar! I love that. I love that. Could also be a part of like this egg life death theme we have going on. Maybe they're trying to do like some ritual banquet, and they're trying to like collect, you know, like this food to offer to this dark force, you know, in like its name. They have to give a sufficient sacrifice, and then of course there'll be a toast a part of it. I like where you're going with that, Nar. That is very thematic. I like where your head's at. All right, so we got a 9 of wands, and this is green. So yeah, the King of Swords over here is completely enclosed, which is going to be very interesting in terms of where the rest of the story takes us. But for now, well, let's figure out what our 9 is. Our 9 of wands. So the 9 has useful information about a queen. So 9 is, queens are our big bad. So this person has useful information, and then the wands is a person or a monster. Oh, interesting. That definitely sounds like another person who would be in on the coup, right? So this is a person or monster with info on the big bad. Could also be, let's see what Nar has to say. There could be some kind of puzzle involved with the toast, trying to figure out if it's safe to drink or what cup to drink from. Classic. Very Indiana Jones. We love a poisoned goblet moment. 9 of Wands, person or monster with info on the big bad. Could be antidote. Says Mochi. Antidote. All right, let's take a look here. We're missing a couple of things from our things to differentiate, things to experiment with, things that attack the renegades, valuables to take, beings to talk to. Yantidote, says Nar. Ah, look at the puns. The puns are flying back and forth. The reminder of who's in charge. Bosses make their mark early. I'm kind of tempted to make this. I'm kind of tempted. What if... Alright, so what if this guy, this being right here, whatever it is, or they are, could be multiples. What if they are the wardens, which are guarding over this place here, right? Which means this person would have to have information on the queen since they're protecting them, right? Or the queen being like the overall, the big bad of the story. Kind of like... And perhaps this guy, the informant, knows that the warden is here, could give the players the drop, right? Could give them information to help. Like, hey, this guy's guarding the secret thing. If you defeat him, then you'll be able to get here. Like, otherwise the players might not know there's a hidden door here, you know? I'm gonna say the hidden door's here, not here. So we might have to rethink who this is here, right? The person being held here might be the villager, because the villager would have information, would know what is being taken and why. Maybe it's villagers. Maybe it's multiple villagers. Okay. So I want to say this is a warden of the temple, who is holding hostages for the big bad, right? And in terms... Nar said, sorry, what about a hidden door? I couldn't hear you over the groans of my zombies and the clacking of my skeletons. I was saying that right now, the King of Swords room, which is the cells, right? That is a currently completely hidden room on all sides. It's hidden, it's the only inverted card we've drawn so far, so it has no direct path through the dungeon, which means there's probably a reason for that. It probably holds something very important. So I'm saying, if I were designing a dungeon to thwart would-be adventurers, I wouldn't put the secret door right behind the main entrance of the dungeon, right? Which is the Ten of Swords. I would put it deeper into the complex and guarded by other things, right? So, like, I would say this is the main entrance. Let's pretend they don't spot the secret entrance, right? Let's pretend they don't spot the broken tunnel. So they climb up this big gap. They fight their way into the main doorway. They come down into the central antechamber. They either talk to or fight the Yanti manipulator right here. They make their way this way towards the warden, right? And then, depending on what happens here, they have to fight this thing, right? If the Yanti manipulator has given them, if they're working with them, if it gives them dirt, the players will know the warden is protecting something of value back here, right? If they don't help, they get information from the warden, or information from the informant, there's a chance they fight the warden here and then do not see the secret entrance where they're holding the prisoners, right? Yeah. Okay. So what does that mean in terms of our... Because it makes this sense that the secret... what's this? Maybe the secret entrance is super claustrophobic, Yuan-ti-sized snake tunnel that they have to crawl through, because it makes sense that a secret entrance for snake people would be snake-like. It's true. There are certain Yuan-ti, not all, if I'm not mistaken, but there are certain sects of Yuan-ti that can, polymorph into snakes. Like actual snake-sized snakes. Not like giant snakes, although there are some that can do that too. So there could be, you know, some entrances which, like, they can shrink down into little snake-sized forms, and then, like, slither through crevices, right? And, like, get into places that would otherwise be, like, impossible for other beings to find. Without, like, you know, some other application of force or magic. So Warden of the Temple is holding hostages for the big bad. So yeah, this thing is a hostage right here. So we're gonna say this is a group of villagers. Mini teas, says Moji. Mini yantis, mini teas. I said broken Dave during the climb. It's a broken cave, not a broken Dave. I don't know Dave personally, but I bet he's not broken. I bet you he's perfectly well adjusted. Okay, so what does this speak of to me? Dave is my ex, says Mochi. Is Dave a snake? And he is broken? Well then, there you go. It all makes sense. Things to experiment with, ways to get scars. Valuables to take. This is a strong incentive to explore. Things that attack the renegades. Danger lurks. Maybe it's things that attack the renegades. Danger lurks. Right? Things that ambush the party. Danger lurks. Can all the Yuan-ti transform? If not, then maybe the secret tunnels are made by and for the ones who can, and is part of the secret coup. It's true. Once again, I think between sessions, now that we know that Yuan-ti are playing such a major part of this story, right? I'm gonna, like, dig through all of, like, the Yuan-ti information that I have to kind of get a sense of who can transform, who cannot. We can also, too, depending on... Because I would probably design custom monsters, like custom Yuan-ti, like for this adventure. So depending on the commonality of Yuan-ti being able to transform, I could just like create Yuan-ti that specifically have more of those powers than others. We'll do some research. We'll do some research and experiment in between sessions. I think basically by the end of the night, what we're going to have is the first tier of our dungeon, right? We're gonna have the first 9 rooms of our dungeon, floor 1. Because in my mind, right, we have 9 blocks, we have 9 rooms, then another 9, then another 9, then another 9, then another 9, all equaling 45 rooms, right? So to me, this first 9 rooms is floor 1. This is... The adventurers enter the dungeon, start exploring, getting into trouble. At some point, there will be a way to get down to floor 2. And then a way to get down to floor 3. And a way to floor 4, and then finally floor 5, where they will, you know, have their final altercation. Nara says it could be the more snake-like ones versus the more humanoid ones. True. Yeah. The further down we go, the more we can see the more monstrous Yuan-ti, the more serpent-like folk ones, who have a different agenda, right? So yeah, things that ambush the party, danger lurks. Okay. Now, oh, and then in terms of the 5-room dungeon, I would say... Or, you know what that could be? Could also be a trap. Information. Well, it says person or monster, but it could be a trap. Could be maybe like carvings in the wall that like tell the story atmospherically of some of the themes of the dungeon that are happening. Because we don't have a trap yet. We do have a trick or setback. Oh, no, we don't, actually. I'm gonna mark this as a trick or setback in terms of the 5-room dungeon. The trick or setback. And I'm gonna say this is either person or monster, Warden of the Temple, or atmospheric storytelling piece. Depending on what else we roll. Or not roll, whatever else we draw. Right, because we're using tarot cards. Storytelling piece. I don't know how to type. Telling piece. Okay. Wow, still not right. There we go. Yikes. Big yikes, my guy. All right, 26. Yep. Ooh, Beans. Says what's Beans' take on Yonti traps? When it comes to traps in Yonti dungeon, poison themed traps like a venomous dart blower or poison gas vents can be really deadly and fitting. See, what do we say? Poison in the air, poison everywhere. Don't forget about pitfalls or concealed snake pits too. What do you think, chat? Oh man, snake pits. We love snakes. Why did it have to be snakes? Okay. So that is floor 2, or I should say not floor 2, but the second set of rooms for this dungeon. So this is going to be the final set of rooms for this part of the dungeon, right? These last 3 cards, and that will wrap up Wing 1, and then the next time we meet, we'll create a Wing 2, right? So let's do some... Ooh, okay. Oh, that is a Major Arcana, which we know does not have a... Oh. Ah, more. Wait, Beans. I thought Beans gave you unprompted, unsolicited dating advice, but I'm glad you asked. I was about to say, if Beans felt so bold and so brazen as to give you dating advice, that is a bold move, Beans. Finding a boyfriend can be a personal journey, says Beans. Oh my god. Aw, Beans. He said, no matter what, just try being yourself and take your time. What a humble boy that Beans. He said hashtag dating advice. With his angry eyes. I love Beans. He's giving that angry stare, giving you boyfriend advice. Okay, so this is a 3 card. It came out inverted. So there is no entrance here from the secret climb, which is cool. Okay. This art, interesting. It kind of has like a bard and like 2 rogues, both wielding Nars as McGovern. I think the answer is exactly the same. No, it's actually 1 line different. Oh no, it's just the size of your name, I think. Yeah, I think it's exactly the same. Well, you know what? At least Beans is consistent with the dating help. At least Beans is not giving wrong advice either way. Yeah, feed Beans, Mochi, for a reward. Okay. So this is an inverted card. It looks like... Ooh, Bean says, thank you for the spicy taco. Oh, it just might be the strength he needs to fight another dragon. All right, so it looks like a bard and maybe like 2 other rogues wielding dual knives, kind of doing some maneuvers together. This is a 3 card. It was inverted. I'm gonna stop trying to make predictions what I think this card art is, because every time I do, I'm wrong. Number 1. But it's definitely a 3, so we know that much. It is the 3 of charisma. Okay. 3 of charisma, which I believe we said is pentacles. Yes. 3 of pentacles. And this is red. This is blocked off. Yes, Nar! Feed Beans. Beans hungry. Beans is a growing boy. Man, tacos back to back. Hey, this was actually different. Who's your favorite dragon in Dungeons and Dragons? Beans, obviously. Beans, you're my favorite dragon in Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, so let's see what a 3 of Pentacles is. A 3 of Pentacles, once again, is dead, ruined, or broken. And Pentacles is inanimate features and objects. Oh, okay. So it's something broken, but it is an inanimate feature. That's interesting. Something broken. Oh, and the beans emoji? Dang. Moji, you're using all your subscriber perks tonight. Inanimate object. Okay. Inanimate object. An inanimate feature or an object. Now, what is this reading to me? I'm kind of seeing this as either things to experiment with, they don't have to be magical, or ways to get scars, powers, or transformations. Right? Oh, wow, Beans knows about Bahamut. Wow. So instead of Beans, so Nar, you pretty much were like, who's a good dragon? And Beans is like, actually, do you know who's a really good dragon?
Actually, the best dragon is Bahamut. That is correct.
That's hilarious. Interesting. So I think this could either be things to experiment with, or ways to get scars, or transformations, or powers. Could be a little bit of both. So this is either... What is this? Things to experiment with, or ways to get scars. So it's either 4 or 6. 4 or 6. So it's either scars, transformations, or experimentations. I'm gonna, depending on what else we pull here, I think is gonna guide our choice. If it's completely hidden, if it's completely off the beaten path from both angles, then I think it would be something magical that they are trying to hide, right? Or something important they're trying to hide, but we don't know until we pull this card here. And then in terms of the 5-room dungeon, could be, what are we missing? We have a reveal. We have a trick or a setback. We have a couple puzzles. We have a couple guardians. And we want to save the climax for the last room, right? We'll see. We'll We'll see, we'll see, we'll see. I think we need to pull another card before we know what that is going to be exactly, at least in my opinion. All right, let's do. Oh, jumper. We got a jumper. Ooh, it's another king. Right side up too, which means this is completely hidden in the corner. So it is something magical. I want to say that's something magical that harbors a transformation. All right, this is a king. Ooh, this is a king. This is the king with the bard lute on the back, looking like Elvis. Oh. All right, so that is definitely a king. I'd probably say the king of charisma, right? Bard would be charisma based. Let me see if I'm right. I like how I said I'm not going to guess anymore, and then 5 minutes later I'm like, let me guess. I have no patience. Yep, I was right. All right, so this is the king. I swear every time I hear the card shuffling, it sounds like a card dealing sound effects. I guess that means I do it well enough. The king of charisma. Okay, so the king of charisma. Charisma's pentacles, king of pentacles. So let's go back to here. Wow, Beans is even hip with all the songs of the day. Let's take a look at our tarot dungeon. So kings represent major bad, plot irrelevant, unless there are no queens on the table, in which case it's plot relevant, and then it's an inanimate feature or an object. I like Mochi. I like Beans said hashtag thick life. Listen, Beans knows what he likes. Beans likes to fight dragons. Beans likes tacos, and he likes them thick. Okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, Beans has his priorities in order, and I think we should all just really try to live more like Beans in that, like, he puts his money where his mouth is. You know, he says, what am I interested in getting into on a Saturday night? Fights, tacos, thick, beautiful people, is what he said. That is hilarious. Oh my god. So this is another inanimate feature or an object. So this is an inanimate feature or object. But then it says bad. Bad. Inanimate feature or an object, which is bad and plot relevant. Nar says Beans likes his tacos like he likes his thighs thick with 2 C's. Yeah, Beans is in rare form tonight. This to me, an inanimate feature that is bad and dangerous, sounds to me like a trap. I think this has trap written all over it, and it makes sense that the trap is guarding. Mochi says, I think it's back in chat. Yeah, you've been away for too long, and now Beans has to make up for lost time and get real spicy in chat to make sure that everybody stays entertained. This is what happens when you spend too long away, Mochi. Beans becomes an animal. Alright, this reads to me like a trap. This is obviously some sort of poison trap, which is plot relevant. So this could actually, Nar, This could actually maybe be the goblet trap. If we're doing maybe like a feast, if the feast is part of the overall story, right, and it's a plot relevant trap, maybe this is part of the cups, the secret cups thing, so the ceremonial toasting. Yeah. I'm gonna make a note of that. I think that might be where that fits. Let's bump that up. Oh, Nara, you have an idea for the toasting? Please share away. And I'm also going to increase the size of this. So this is definitely the transformations, right? This is transformations. What is that? What happened? We can't talk. Ways to get scars, powers, and transformation. Things to experiment with. Okay. So this is for things to experiment with, right? And then this is 6 ways to get scars. Or actually, no. Let's invert it. So the thing that you mess with is a way to get scars, powers, or transformations. The trap is something you experiment with. Because you have to manipulate the cups. You have to figure out which is the right one, right? Yeah, it's something you have to interact with and toy with. So this is a trap. Okay, so let's take stock of where we are in the well, no, let's pull our last card, and then we can kind of put the final 2 pieces together. Final couple pieces together. All right, taking our cards. Ooh, I was about to do an ASMR joke and then it jumped, so I guess we won't have the opportunity. Another right side up. Okay. So there's only 2 secret floors on here the entire time, which is interesting. And this looks like a 7. Kind of looks like a cleric. Kind of looks like a dwarven cleric praying before an orb, or maybe a wizard peering into a crystal ball, something of that nature. But it's 7. Let's see. I'm gonna guess that's intelligence. Am I right? Am I wrong? I'm wrong. I'm like right 50% of the time. Which I guess as far as divinations go isn't a great track record. But in terms of dungeon creation, I think we're doing pretty good. 7, 7, 7. There we are. Wisdom, cups again. 7 of cups. Okay. So now we just take a look at what 7 is. Oh, we need to look at that on the tarot thing. Standard, level appropriate, dangerous, useful if overcome. Interesting. Useful if overcome. 7 of cups. Useful if overcome. Okay. So we know. So this is dangerous, level appropriate, challenge. But what is inside is useful if overcome. Okay. Nar says, since all alcohol is kind of a poison, but not lethal, what if in order to proceed, they have to put the right poison from a group of snakes with a wide variety of poisonous severity? In order to successfully complete the toasting, they have to inject the correct poison directly from the snake into the drink. Therefore, having knowledge of which snake is the right one ahead of time could be very useful. Ooh, what I'm going to do, Nar, I'm going to add a page here. I'm going to say inspirations, because I like what you're saying there. I just imagine they enter the room that has a dining table with cups all filled with the same drink, and the ground is covered in numerous snakes, and they have to just figure it out. I'm gonna copy and paste your idea here, because I like where you're going, although I need to figure out how it's gonna fit in our current, because that might not be a room on this floor. Could be a room in a further floor. But I'm gonna save it there for now, so we can visit that. Useful if overcome. Okay. Whoop. Okay. You might word it better than I did, haha. That's okay. Listen, I understand what you said. All we need is the gist, and then from there, we can, you know, pick and pluck and refine. We're just getting, like, overarching ideas. What's the word? Themes, right? Dangerous if overcome, but cups is usually empty, dungeon appropriate decor. The gist has been gisted. We're all properly gisted, Captain. Okay, so what are we missing in our 5-room dungeon? We have a guardian, we have a role play, we have a trick or setback, we have a revelation, but we don't have as a climax. We need a climax for this floor. We need a climax for this floor. Mochi said, hey, I got the gifted. Oh, nice. I didn't realize, did someone do a gift? Or did you get the gisted gift? Autocorrect. You got the gist? All right. Right now we're missing a climax for the floor. And we have 7, we have 6, we have 5, we have 4. Right? Am I crazy? Don't answer that. Of course I'm crazy. We have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So right now we're just missing 1 and 10 in terms of our 9-room dungeon things to place, which is a reminder of who's in charge and valuables to take. Right? Valuables to take and a reminder of who's in charge. I think those can both be here. Right? If this is the climax for the floor, so 1 is valuables to take, and 10 is reminder of who is in charge. What I am reading this as, and we also need a room that is going to take us to down a floor, right? That is going to lead us deeper into the dungeon. So I think this is the gateway below to floor 2. And obviously, if we have a gateway below floor 2, we need someone or something guarding that floor, right? And a reminder of who's in charge. So this is like a lieutenant of the big bad. You know, someone loyal to the cult. So this is not part of the Splinter faction. These are like the actual ritualists. And so they're obviously going to be guarding the final floor. Or I should say the final entrance to below. Make sure everything's about the same size here. 7 of Cups, green. And then gateway to floor 2. I'm going to make yellow. Okay, so we have everything we need for our 9 rooms, if I'm not mistaken now. So we have 1, which is valuables to take. Oh, valuables to take. The Guardian. The Guardian will probably have like a cool magic item, right? Like a weapon in their hands that if the party defeats them, they can claim and then use in the dungeon moving forward. A nice little like upgrade for the party before heading deeper into the complex, right? I think that's fun. It's always great. It's always cool to fight a monster that's like holding an item and then you like suffer at the hands of it, right? You're like, this magic sword, it hurts so bad. And then you kill the bad guy and then you're like, oh, that magic sword is now mine, you know. That's always fun. So we have a valuable to take. We have an easy threat to overcome, right? We have a what was 3? Things that attack the renegades, danger lurks, right? We have an ambush. The puzzle is the party has to figure out what it does for the floor. Did I miss a floor pun? I feel like I missed a floor pun. I see the floor and then a smirky face. I think I missed something. Did I misspeak? we have an ambush, right? We have 3. We have 4, which is an object to experiment with. Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. We have a method in which different passages read what I wrote for the floor. Read what I wrote for the floor. Dangerous level, appropriate challenge, useful if overcome. Empty, dungeon appropriate to core. Lieutenant of the big bad, someone low to the cult. Gateway below to floor 2. Bibles to take. Bottom right. Nar! Really, Nar? Really, Nar? Really, Nar? Really, Nar? Hashtag climax for the floor. If there's one thing that I can guarantee you, if there's one thing I can guarantee you from a level 1 dungeon that I've designed on this channel, ladies and gentlemen, friends of the jury, it's a climax for the floor. That is something that I will ensure is in every... Put that on a shirt, I'll buy it. Climax for the floor. Jesus. Oh my god. That's hilarious. That is absolutely hilarious. I'm dead. How did you see that? How did you see that, Nar? Get your head out of the gutter, Nar. I mean, see, Mochi, this is what happens. You're making Beans talk wild. You're having Nar see naughty puns in my dungeon text. What is happening? Okay, so let's take stock. We have valuables to take, so that'll be a treasure they can claim off of the lieutenant. They have easy threats to overcome. Those are like the door guards at the very beginning of the dungeon. They have a ambush to an ambush that is lurking that are the guardians in front of the holding cells, right? They have 4, something, an object to interact with. That is going to be this little trap, possibly this goblet trap, or it could be another trap. It is something that they have to interact with, right? That is dangerous if they want to move forward, which is going to lead here. That's going to be the secret entrance into here. 5, different ways to go. They have an alternate entrance into the dungeon from the climb up the sheer surface on the outside. 6, they have a way to get scars, transformations, or powers. So something inanimate, this broken object, right? This, I think, is the ceremonial toasting, Nar. Because hear me out. If number 6 is a way to get scars, powers, or transformations, what if they enter this room, which is a banquet hall that's filled with snakes, right? And they have to kind of do what you have to, they do what you're saying. They have to figure out like what snakes they pour into the cups to drink from. And then depending on what they drink from it, something happens to them. Maybe they get a cool snake-based power, right? If they make the right concoction. Maybe they get deathly poisoned. Maybe they get disfigured. Maybe they grow some sort of snake-like mutation, right? Maybe it's a combination of one or more of those things. But they have to bypass this. They have to figure out what to interact with the secret room to get into the banquet chamber and then play with all of the different, liquids to possibly go through like a cool transformation to get a cool power or suffer a consequence, right? If they don't figure out the right thing to do. I think that's really cool. I think that's where that lives. I think this is like a different kind of trap. So they have a way to get a cool transformation or other benefit. 7, which is an obstacle or hazard, which is climbing up the mountain itself. There's 8 beings to encounter and talk to. That is who's ever in the holding cell. We're still figuring that part out. 9 is a secret, which is the informant, right? The inside job Yanti who's trying to upend everything. And then 10, of course, is the reminder of who's in charge. That's going to be the boss, the mini boss at the end of this floor, right? So out of the 9 rooms of this dungeon, all 10 of what we would like to be inside is accounted for, right? What's your opinion on floors, says Narda Beans. Beans says, floors are pretty neat, I guess. He says, what do you think about floors? Beans, what do you know about floors? You're a dragon, my guy. How often do you spend on floors when you can fly? I wouldn't spend any time on a floor if I could fly. The other thing that I want to do is make sure that I have all the narrative beats from the 5-room dungeon present, right? So what is our narrative beats? We have a revelation and a reveal. We definitely have that. Which revelation and reveal is sort of our informant, I think. Could also be other things, but I think the primary secret is our revelation is our informant. We need a climax for the floor. We got that. Nar made sure we had a climax for the floor. We have a trick or setback. Yeah, we definitely have a trick or setback. We have the ambush. Oh no, I'm out of messages to respond to. Do I have to update? I might have to update Beans's Did you break it? Beans should have a certain amount of replies per session, but we should have a lot. Let me test it. Are you good, Beans? No, all right, I have to double check that. We should have more than those. But back to our main task at hand. We have a trigger setback. We have guardians. We have a roleplay encounter. We don't have a puzzle. Although the ceremony is kind of like a puzzle. So I'm gonna say that's a puzzle. I think that, yeah. Like the whole figuring out what snake has to go into the goblet is sort of like a puzzle thing. I think that is appropriate. So we have a puzzle, we have a roleplay, we have a guardian, we have a trick or a setback, which is the ambush. Could also be this poison trap. Maybe have multiple trick or setback. Okay. We have revelation, we have a secret, we have a guardian. Yeah. So if I take stock, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One, yeah. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So we have all 5 narrative beats of our dungeon. We have 10 interesting, cool things to interact with here. And we all were inspired from these tarot card pulls. The main thing we have to figure out here, I think this is major character plus inanimate object. Major NPC plus, I think this is a group of villagers. Okay, so this is what we have to recap for our dungeon before we end for the night. Because I think we're gonna end here. This is floor 1, right, on our tarot dungeon. And then next time we meet, we will pick up from this floor, floor 2, right, and figure out where it goes. So basically, the characters find their way through to the base of the mountain, which holds the secret Yanti temple. They climb their way up the mountain, the sheer cliffs. Will they fall to their deaths and their doom? Who knows? As they're climbing, from above them, they can see some strange stone carvings. They know, and the lip of the edge of the cliffside, they know that if they climb their way up there, they're going to be headed into the dungeon proper, into the mountain proper. However, gasp, what is here on the side? Is this perhaps a secret entrance? Maybe they find it, maybe they don't. We'll see. But either way, they start here, could go either or. Then, no matter which way they go, they end up in the central antechamber. The central antechamber has a Yanti informant. The Yanti informant will try and get the player characters to cooperate with them. Maybe try to cut the head. I was gonna say cut the head off of the snake of this cult, which is quite literal in this sense. It was meant to be more metaphorical, but it is quite literal in this sense. Will they work with us? Will they not? You know, we'll figure that out. If they head this way, they will be ambushed, right, by Yantis lying in wait. Yeah. And this is, yeah. If they go this way, they're going to be ambushed by Yantis lying in wait. They're actually guarding the cells, but that's a secret, right? The characters would only really know that the cell is there if they talk to the Yanti and work with them, right? Or perhaps, maybe this could also be another informant that was captured. You know? Could be a temporary ally to the PCs. Like, he hasn't been marked yet, So, like, he has to stay undercover, but he's trying to, like, spring this guy out, maybe. Something to think about. But they're going to guard it. And they're also guarding, in a way, the final mini-boss over here, right? So this is kind of like the primary path through the dungeon. If the players were not doing any major exploring, they would go either room 1, 2, or 3, end up in 4, 5, 6, right? They could also possibly find their way down here, which would be an inanimate feature that they could interact with, and depending on if they interact with it correctly, it's going to open up a secret room to the ritual chamber, right? Or they can ignore that object and go straight to the fight. So really, the primary path of the dungeon is bum, 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 bum. Just like a, kind of like a S, kind of like a snake. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Springing the other Yuan-ti informant is completely optional and requires you to suffer the ambush, right? Finding the banquet hall that will give you the transformation is also optional and requires you to actually interact with this plot feature, this inanimate feature that's trapped, right? So you have a primary path through the dungeon with a secret entrance, and you have 2 optional little extra things to find for fun. Then you fight the lieutenant and get down to floor 2. So yeah, I'm really liking where this dungeon is going so far. I like where the floors are at. We still have to figure out the golden goose situation and the Cyclops. Those are like 2 things we haven't quite figured out yet. Which is such a specific story quote for the deck to give us, but I think there's definitely a way to do it. I think perhaps we might be able to move the Cyclops into... He might just appear on a different floor. Doesn't have to appear in floor 1. I guess it would make sense if he's on the upper floors because he's probably really big and getting in deeper into the complex is going to be just harder and harder to do. But that's a question for another time. Basically, what I need to do in between our sessions is research some Yuan-ti lore, some Cyclops stuff, some golden goose stuff, and figure out how I can tie those things together, right? And once we can figure out that thread, that will sort of be like the cement between our narrative that can help inform floor 2, 3, 4, 5, beyond. But I think for now we're in a good spot to end this dungeon. So hopefully you can see we kind of mixed 3 different elements, right? So to reiterate, we mixed this tarot dungeon design document, which populates rooms, helps you populate rooms in your dungeon based off of what tarot card you pull, right? That was our primary means of giving us what goes where. But using the very famous 5-room dungeon design tenets, right, which help us design narrative beats to implant into dungeons, right? And the 9-room dungeon path by Dreaming Dragon Slayer, we were able to add narrative beats and sort of like tangible events or points of interest within the dungeon, right? So a combination of 5-room narrative beats, 9-room points of interest, and then the actual map being generated by the tarot cards, we now have a fully functional dungeon. here. And I should say this. I think to continue the tarot experiment, we are going to continue to build floors of this dungeon, right? We're gonna flesh it out. But this right here, this is what we have here. This is a completely, I think, self-contained adventure location. If you built no more floors into this, this could be a dungeon in and of itself, right? Like, if you just made the lieutenant here the actual big bad of the dungeon, right? That this guy's trying to kill, and he's trying to free his partner who got made, right, within the cult. Like, it'd be a much shorter dungeon, but this could be a completely self-contained adventure right here. You could run this as like a 1 or 2 shot, where you climb the mountain, you either sneak in or fight your way in, you maybe discover some secrets, you maybe free a spy, and you kill a Yanti priest, right? That could be a self-contained thing right there. But I think what is going to be more interesting is if we continue to build this out, push it forward, see what we can find the deeper we go, especially because the tarot dungeon thing is fun. And it gives us, you know, we have all these cards left that we can pull through to help create some fun moments. So let's see what chat says. More climaxes for the floors. Yeah, we just can't let one floor have all the fun. There are possibly 5 floors. You think only one floor deserves a climax? No. We all of the floors get to climax here at level 1 adventuring. We don't leave anyone out. We are very thorough. We are very generous, and we are very thorough here. Every floor, you get a climax, and you get a climax. Everybody. But yes, I think that is going to end our first tarot dungeon building session for now. I'm going to go back to I hope you all enjoyed what you saw tonight. I hope this was fun and interesting. Like I said, this was a completely brand new experiment for me. I've never tried to build a dungeon using the tarot cards. I have always kind of relied on the 9-room dungeon pathing and the 5-room dungeon narrative beats to build a lot of my dungeons, especially smaller ones. But I've never allowed the tarot card method to sort of guide where certain things ended up. So it's kind of an experiment for me, but I think it was fun. I think it was worthwhile, and I do like it. I think it does take a little bit of the mental load off of where things land. And it's kind of fun just seeing what rooms connect, what rooms don't connect, what is upright, what is hidden, right? And that's kind of fun. It's kind of a little randomization. And it just, once again, these are just more tools for you to put in your DM toolbox. Part of this channel, I hope, imparts some, not only like how to role play and like play solo games and play group games and facilitate games and be a good player, but also to, if you are feeling empowered enough to become a dungeon master, different ways to make that a reality. Dungeon design is not easy. It is very daunting, especially if you are making it from scratch like we're doing here and not using any pre-designed or predetermined elements. And so anything that you can use to expedite that process, take a little bit of pressure off yourself is always helpful. Also using tools like the Dangerous Destinations PDF or other PDFs like it, which have rolling tables to help take that mental load off of you, is greatly appreciated, right? But yeah, basically I just want to equip you with different ideas, different tools, different ways to go about your creative journey, and possibly feel bold enough to lead your friends through some spooky adventure locations. Nar and Mochi are discussing Nar's ability to resurrect Mochi as an undead minion. Mochi says brains. But I think that is going to take it for tonight. Thank you so much for watching, sticking it out with us today. As always, I'm your host and Dungeon Master, Wolfe Scott, designing dungeons for your pleasure and hopefully your expansion of Dungeon Master tool sets. If you are... Oh, Undead Friend, Nar says, not Minion. Of course. Where was I? This is Level 1 Adventuring. If you are new to us, what are we? We are, as you can probably see, as I've talked about this for 3 hours, a role-playing game stream channel. We do Twitch, we do YouTube, we do a bunch of different platforms. We do tabletop-based games, we do digital games, we have solo games, we have group games. We have videos like this which teach you how to better design game elements of your game. So there's tons to see. If you want to see any of our previous sessions, or if you want to see... I'll eventually create a playlist for this entire dungeon, right, on YouTube, which you can watch from beginning to end, how we work through all the rooms and create the dungeon full sail. So if you're interested in seeing that, go on the YouTube, subscribe to us there. You'll be able to watch the whole thing back to back to back once it's released. And also join us on the Discord, where we meme, we joke, we talk about games we have played, will play, and it will be a 5th edition D&D space for everyone to hang out in and roleplay in very soon. Big thank you to StreamLabs, StreamSpell, our AI chatbot, Beans, who is talking away, and Lo-Fi Hip Hop Girl. Pretty much anyone who has supported the stream in helping us create content or upgrading our visuals or interactivity. We thank you, we give you credit. We also have some links down in the description below which you can use. If you download them for yourselves, you share our links, we get a kickback, which is always really great. Still looking really forward to the play-by-post. I know, me too, Nar. I have to poke and prod Garrett. I have to poke and prod Vorpal Dormouse on our Discord. At him and yell at him. No, don't at him and yell at him. But at him, because he and I are working on that together. And I know he's a very busy lad, so I do not fault him. But our two brains are trying very desperately to make this work. So I need to poke on Vorpal a little bit more to help me get it up and running. But yeah, follow us there. Follow us on the Discord. Follow us on all of the socials. That's where you're going to keep up with us. And I already plugged all of our stuff. At and politely inquire, says Nar. Yes, please. At and politely inquire. You're not going to see me for the rest of this week, I don't think. But you will see me hopefully starting Monday of next. One of those nights, I'm planning on picking up our Tales of the Burnstones playthrough. So we can hopefully get to the end of Duragrim Faldeep's dire story into the demonic mines of Mount Baram. Another maybe will be the dungeon that we're making. Why not? You know, it's been a while since we've done like a dedicated design section of the channel. Let's do that. And then Wednesday, supposing we have a full head count, we'll do D&D. If not, we'll do something else. I'll figure it out. But you won't see me until next week unless you are on the Discord. So with that being said, thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, your energy and attention is very appreciated. You have no idea how much it means. Your streams keep falling on my D&D games. This was the exception I was able to hop on. I'm sorry. I guess Wednesdays is just a good night for D&D, whether you're streaming it or you're playing it. But... I mean, we're on 2 to 3 nights a week, depending on my schedule, so hopefully we can catch you on one of those 3, Nar, because you're always fun to have in chat. But with that being said, I think that is all for us for tonight. Until next week, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. I hope you have a fun time in your own home games and with your own friends out there in the multiverse. And until then, be well. I'm going to run that beautiful outro. Stay safe. Drink your water. Be cool. Be chill. I'll see you later.